This woman only shows you her face. That's the whole trick, and it works. These aren't scarecrows, they're dead Vikings, and they only show up when a windmill stops turning. A haircut that turns into something worse, a face in the water that isn't telling you the whole truth, bones that only exist when something stops working the way it's supposed to. None of these three need a curse, a demon, or an explanation from beyond the grave. They just need your body, or something close enough to a body, to stop following the rules you assumed it had to. This is a deep dive into that fear, physical distortion, and how Courage the Cowardly Dog used it to unsettle its audience in a way no curse or ghost ever quite managed. Before getting into the episodes, it's worth being precise about what separates this fear from the show's other recurring fears. This isn't the fear of an external monster, or a curse, or a haunted place. It's the fear that the body, yours or someone else's, can be made wrong, distorted, vulnerable in ways that go against everything a body is supposed to be. That fear takes a few different shapes across the series. Sometimes it's vulnerability introduced through obsession, someone else deciding what can be done to your body. Sometimes it's a lure, something using a familiar, even attractive face to draw you in before revealing what it actually is. And sometimes it's the horror of something that was already dead, reanimated by a broken rule. The thread underneath all of it is one of the oldest, most physical fears people carry. The body is supposed to be yours, and this fear is the fear of that ownership being violated. Let's start with the most deceptively gentle version of this fear, an obsession that turns something as small and ordinary as hair into a source of genuine dread. Freaky Fred. Fred's fixation on cutting hair isn't presented as violent or aggressive on the surface. It's presented as cheerful, even friendly. But the moment his obsession turns toward courage, that cheerfulness becomes the thing that makes it so unsettling. This is physical distortion at its smallest scale, and arguably its most relatable. It doesn't require a monster or a curse. It just requires someone else deciding they have the right to alter your body, however minor that alteration might seem to them, without your consent. What makes this so effective is the scale. Fur isn't blood, a haircut isn't a wound, and yet the show manages to make it feel like a genuine violation, because the fear was never really about the fur itself. It was about the loss of control over what happens to your own body. This fear doesn't need graphic injury to work. Sometimes all it needs is someone else's hands near a part of you that was never supposed to be theirs to touch. Now scale this fear up from a haircut to something that specifically hunts using a face instead of teeth. Queen of the Black Puddle. The queen isn't confined to one body of water. She can appear in any puddle, any pond, anywhere still water sits, taking its shape, then revealing only her face at first, just enough to lure someone close before showing the rest of herself. And she's specific about her target. In this episode, it's Eustace she's drawing in, using exactly the kind of appeal that gets past his guard, long before he has any reason to suspect what's underneath it. That's a different flavor of physical distortion than Fred's obsession. This isn't about someone altering your body against your will. It's about a body being used as bait, a familiar, appealing shape deployed specifically to get you close enough for what comes next. By the end, the lure drops entirely. She transforms into something built to devour Eustace outright. And the only reason he survives is Courage getting there in time to stop her. The lure was never the whole story. Finally, There's a version of this fear that doesn't come from a lure or an obsession, but from something that's already dead and only shows up when a very specific rule gets broken. Windmill Vandals. These aren't scarecrows. They're the skeletal remains of Vikings, and they behave like rampaging, aggressive dead things the moment they're active. What triggers them is specific. The windmill on the Nowhere farm has to stop turning. The moment it grinds to a halt, they appear. The moment it starts running again, they vanish, as if the windmill itself was doing something to hold them back the whole time. That mechanic isn't random. Generations ago, a previous owner of the farm carved a protection directly into the windmill, meaning the device isn't just decoration or machinery. It's been quietly holding back reanimated remains the entire time without anyone currently living fully realizing it. Windmill Vandals closes out this category by proving that physical distortion doesn't always come from something transforming in front of you. Sometimes it's already finished transforming centuries ago and is just waiting for the one thing keeping it contained to fail. Step back for a second and consider why this fear lands so differently than the show's other fears. A curse threatens what might happen to you. Isolation threatens who won't be there for you. This fear is different because it threatens the one thing every other fear assumes is stable in the first place. The physical container all of those other fears are happening inside of. Fred's obsession, the black puddles lure and transform, and the Vikings' broken containment all point at the same underlying nerve, just from 3 different angles. Someone else deciding what happens to your body. A familiar face hiding a completely different one, and a threat that never really went away. That's why this fear works so well, even in a show built for kids. It doesn't need elaborate lore or a complicated curse mythology. It just needs the oldest, simplest fear there is, that the body you live in might not be as safe, as stable, or as entirely yours as you assumed. Across these 3 episodes, the obsession-driven vulnerability of Freaky Fred, the lure and transform of Queen of the Black Puddle, and the reanimated, contained horror of Windmill Vandals, Courage the Cowardly Dog explores physical distortion from 3 completely different angles. None of them need elaborate mythology to work. They only need the oldest, most physical fear there is, that the body is supposed to be yours, and something, or someone, might make that stop being true. And remember that face from the very beginning of this video. Would you have gotten close enough to find out what she really was? Sometimes the scariest thing isn't what a body looks like right now. It's what's still underneath it, waiting. Courage survives all 3, but the discomfort of each episode lingers a little differently than the show's curses or ghosts ever do. Because this fear doesn't need a haunted house to live in. It just needs a body.